Okay, a lot's been happening lately, but I did promise myself that I was going to stay consistent here. No matter how busy things got, I was going to keep showing up. So here I am. And I actually wasn't going to film this today, but it's freezing outside and the studio's quiet. So I figured this is probably a good time for me to just slow down and share an update on what I've been doing lately, a few of the things that I've got coming up, and also just share a few of the things that I've learned over the last few weeks as well. So probably the biggest thing that's happened is that I finally hosted my first creator meetup here at the studio a few weeks ago. And it was honestly the craziest experience. I called it Kicking It With Creatives, which is the exact same name as my podcast. So it kind of tied them both in together really well. And yeah, I organized models, set designs, a painter to paint a live portrait, my friend Sam, who's a graffiti artist, to paint a live mural outside. And I even came up with an idea to have creatives record a 6-minute podcast. I'd never hosted an event before, so it was actually really stressful and involved a whole lot of work, but I learned a lot and it was heaps of fun. And I think what stuck with me the most wasn't the setups or everything that was going on. It was the energy of the day, the people, the vibe, and everyone just showed up and got involved. So I think my biggest takeaway from doing a meetup is that it doesn't really matter if 10 people show up or 100. If you can create a space where people feel seen and heard, that's what builds real community, and that's what people actually show up for. Oh, it's freezing out here, but I wanted to show you guys the mural that Sam painted at the event. It turned out sick, and I honestly can't believe he did this in 3 hours. I've done work with Sam in the past, and usually murals take days, if not weeks. So for him to be able to do this in 3 hours during the whole event is actually super impressive, and I'm stoked with how it all turned out. Anyways, it hasn't even been 2 weeks since the first meetup, and I'm already planning the next one. And even though everything went really well, I really want to keep pushing myself to try new things and force myself to keep making these meetups fresh and exciting. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from doing these meetups is that a lot of creatives, especially in this social media landscape, will just rinse and repeat any idea that they find works for them just because they don't want to lose momentum. And I totally get that, but at the same time, you can't be afraid to try new things just because you're afraid of losing momentum. And I know it's scary and it may take a little more work and a little more creativity, but to me, that's how you grow as a creative. Anyway, I've already got some ideas for this next meetup and I can't wait to start putting it all together. All right, I gotta get back inside because it's freezing out here. Another thing that I've been loving lately is just how much the podcast has been growing lately. And not just the numbers, but the quality of conversations and guests. Everyone that comes on brings their own energy and story, and the progress is starting to feel real. Like, there are people that I dreamed of having on the pod when I first started, and now some of those convos are happening. And the flow's just getting better and people are actually resonating with the content. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from doing the pod for as long as I have now is that success has nothing to do with going viral. And it's more about just getting better at your craft, one episode or one video at a time. And to me, that slow growth is the best kind. I'm also planning a trip to do a few podcast episodes in Melbourne in a couple of weeks, which is very exciting because I don't know, I've just been wanting to challenge myself a bit more mentally and creatively, and it was just an exciting little experiment to see if I can reach out to creatives in Melbourne and kind of see what the reaction would be. And I've already got a few really exciting guests lined up for that trip. Hopefully I can get another 1 or 2 and just make it a really cool trip where I can make a lot more content showing that things like this are possible. By doing things like this and sharing it and creating content around it, you show other creatives what's possible as well. So the biggest lesson that I've learned from organizing this trip is that you become so much more open to so many more opportunities when you realize that you don't just have to think local. If you think interstate, worldwide, literally anywhere online, there is potential for opportunities everywhere, and you shouldn't hold yourself back just by thinking locally. Outside of the podcast, things have been going great. More people have been inquiring about wanting to hire out the studio, and I'm still doing a ton of client work. And I think what's interesting is that since the meetup, a lot of new people have reached out wanting to work together. which is really, really cool. And just goes to show that the content that was created around the event really drew some attention and got the awareness of some new people that encouraged them to want to reach out and work together. So yeah, lots of positives from the meetup. And sometimes it does feel like I'm doing too much, but at the same time, I've felt all this before. And I think when you're a new creative, sometimes when you do get busy, it feels overwhelming and stressful and you don't know if you're doing the right thing. But as long as you stay focused, know that those busy periods and those quiet periods don't last forever. Take them when you can, rest when you can, work hard when you can, and know that if you just keep pushing forward, everything's going to work out. Anyway, I think these cold, quiet nights are good for just slowing down and checking in. So I think I needed this, especially because I know how easy it is to just get caught up in the chaos sometimes. And I'm really trying to do a better job of just being more intentional with what I share and how I show up here. So I guess if you're a creative out there who's trying to build something as well, I hope this just reminds you that your videos don't always have to be perfect. Sometimes you've just got to pick up your camera and show up, because just sharing what you're up to and what you're doing helps out other creatives that are also going through the same thing. So yeah, let me know if you want more of these life check-ins, and if you're working on something of your own, let me know, because I'd love to hear about it. Anyway, thanks for being here and making it to the end, and I promise you there's more to come. Bye.